Today, I want to answer the question for you. What does a CPA actually do? When I talk to business owners and ask them about their CPA, they say their CPA does their books or does their taxes. But if they're handling your books and being your business advisor, they're often in the wrong seat in not doing that job well. They can do this job, but what does it actually mean to do this job? What does a CPA actually do? Today in this video, we're going to break down what the CPA does, what they don't do, and how to get the right type of financial advice that you need for your business. I've seen it more times than I can count. A business owner comes to me being frustrated with their CPA. And the reality is, they often have a good reason. It's because they're not timely, they have bad communication, they can't provide the advice the owner wants and needs, and they can be slow in doing the books. The problem is most don't understand what a good CPA is actually doing. And to understand this, we need to better understand the three types of accounting work that a small business needs. Those can be broken down into transaction work, tax and compliance work, and strategy work. For the transaction work, this is where your bookkeeper, AR/AP clerks, payroll, and controllers come in. This is the work that is doing the day-to-day thing. When a CPA is doing this work, the CPA is often doing this work with a tax and compliance view. So this tax and compliance bucket is what CPAs come in, tax filings, audits, and kind of all of the stuff that is kind of nuts and bolts, accounting, really focused things that aren't that transaction, aren't that clerk work. And then the last bucket you have is the strategy bucket. The strategy bucket is the forward thinking bucket. And what I like to say is that it's hard to do all three of those things at the same time because each of those things requires a different mindset and frame of mind to think. Transaction bucket is reactive and is doing in the work day in and day out, and it's really tactical and really into the weeds. The tax and compliance work requires you to think about the tax strategy and what decisions need to be made from there. And then the strategy work requires you to be forward thinking. It's hard to wear each of those hats at once, and it's hard to provide advice on both the tax front and the strategy front at the same time. So what this means is your CPA is often focused on compliance and taxes and not driving the business forward. So if you're asking questions to help you make strategic business decisions, they're often not in a place to provide those answers. That leaves the business owner frustrated because they're asking the wrong person for the wrong type of help. The truth is, CPAs are built for compliance, not transaction or strategy, and it's hard to sit in those seats at the same time. So, what does a CPA actually do? CPA stands for Certified Public Accountant and is licensed to do public accounting. For you as a small business owner, that may not matter at all because we're not in public accounting. That means that they've passed the tough exam, they've met the educational and experience requirements, and are legally allowed to sign audits and represent you with the IRS. It's an important credential, and I don't want to downplay that. But for you as the small business, it may not be as important as you thought it was. Typical CPAs are preparing and filing tax returns, helping you navigate audits, and certifying financial statements for bankers and other external lenders that may need solidified GAAP financials. And then last, making sure that you follow the rules that you need from a tax perspective and from a compliance perspective. Where the rub comes in is we're often asking them to do the things that they don't actually do, which is run an accounting department, build you a forward-looking strategy, or telling you how to grow your business. Can CPAs do that? Yes, some CPAs can do that, but it's not the specialty of what the CPA certification is for. And so I often see people looking for CPAs in a controller, in a CFO, or in a leadership role within their business, but that may not be the right certification or right thing for your business. The title still carries a lot of weight. It means that you've jumped through hoops, that you know some accounting stuff. And business owners assume that means that you can rely on them for a lot more. But again, we need to make sure we understand what they're actually doing and the job they're actually completing for you. To solidify this a little bit more, I want to think about this as two competing ideas. We talk about offense versus defense. The CFO's job is offense. It's maximizing profit, optimizing operations, and driving growth. The CPA's job is defense. It's doing those taxes, reducing those as much as possible, reducing risk, and keeping you compliant. In some ways, this is the yin and the yang. They're on the opposite ends of the spectrum. And again, that's why I mentioned it's hard to do both of those jobs at the same time. If you're being asked a strategic question by a business owner, the CPA can answer from a strategic lens, or they can answer from the tax compliance lens. Well, if their specialty is tax compliance, they're going to first start by focusing on that tax compliant piece. That puts them at a place where they have to consider which piece of information is more valuable and what are they going to elevate to you as the business owner. It's very hard to do that really well. So how do you know that you have the right partner in a CPA? Again, we're focusing on the CPA for small businesses. That's tax and compliance focused. That's taxes and audits when you need those audits for your banking or for other needs. We want to ask the right questions. So to ask the right questions, we need to ask, do they file taxes or do they also do tax planning? We want someone who does tax planning as well. Who is their typical client? If they work with real estate and then they don't work with other types of clients and you're not a real estate person, they may not be right for you. If they're filing only individual returns and not working with business owners, they may not be the right CPA for you. We want a CPA that has experience in similar types of businesses, and they can often tell you that. And you can know, are they on top of those tax strategies for that type of business? Next, how do you communicate with your clients? We want to make sure our communication expectations align. Is it phone? Is it text? Is it Slack? Is it email? Whatever those communication preferences are, we want to make sure that you and them are on the same page. Next, what approach do you have with working with other advisors? I've seen too many CPAs be adversarial with other advisors, and that is not a good place to be because that often means the business owner is getting the raw end of the stick. So we want to make sure that they're open and willing to work with the right type of advisors. Everyone is going to say yes, and in reality, it may be different. So we may not be able to see that on the front end, but if you start to see that, that's when you know you need to look for someone else. And then next, what is your philosophy to balancing tax minimization, business goals, and audit risks? We want to make sure there's no one right way here. Some people are going to be a lot more aggressive. Some people are going to be a lot more conservative and hold back money. We just want to make sure that you and them align. If you and them align in your approach, then you have a good advisor that's going to do the things that you want them to do. And then last, how do you stay up to date in tax law or tax changes? We just want to make sure that they're plugged in, that they're not just resting on the laurels of that certification, that they're plugged in, that they're passionate. That's really what we want to see. We want to see that they care deeply about the subject and that they're into the subject on their free time as well. Here's the bottom line. Keep your CPA for tax compliance, but don't expect them to fulfill those other roles in the way that you as the business owner focusing on strategy and business growth are asking them to do. If you need financial leadership and strategy, you need a different role. And this is the role that we fill with businesses as fractional CFOs. Me as a fractional CFO day in and day out, this is my bread and butter. And we're going to talk about what the role of the CFO is in the next video that we do. So thank you for watching today. I would encourage you to subscribe so that you can get the notification when that video comes out. Until then, have a great day.